or he wants that postdoc to take credit for my work, basically. Hi, I'm Chasing Lies, a 4th-year PhD student in Singapore. When I was in my 2nd year of my PhD, after finally passing my qualifying examination, I seriously considered quitting. Not because I hated research. Okay, maybe I do complain about failed experiments a little too much, but that wasn't the real reason. The real reason was that I was struggling with a difficult supervisor and what felt like unfair treatment in the lab. I thought about walking away and starting over somewhere else, but in the end, I decided to close one eye, maybe both eyes, and just keep going. Fast forward to today, somehow I'm now in my 4th year. Before starting my PhD, I had always been in academia. I did my final year project in a research lab during university, then spent 2 years working as a research assistant before enrolling in a PhD program. So I believed that the research community would be different from the corporate world. I imagined a place where collaboration mattered more than competition, with less office politics and more fairness. After all, you could be the top student in your university, but if your hypothesis is wrong, you can't just use your credentials to prove it right. I thought science would put everyone on a more equal playing field. Then I started my PhD, and this lab really exposed me to many of the darker sides of research. Politics, favoritism, different people being treated differently. I realized that we don't all start from the same place, and that being competent doesn't necessarily guarantee success. Sometimes the people who have more support, more resources, or simply the right connections can get further ahead. And sometimes being incompetent doesn't necessarily stop someone from succeeding either. And that's when I realized that science isn't always the hardest part of doing a PhD. It's the people, and specifically your supervisor. Academia is still a workplace. The people wear lab coats instead of suits, but power, politics, bias and unfair treatment can exist here too. And that was one of the hardest things for me to accept. So I wanted to talk about what happened, why I chose to stay, how I'm dealing with it now, and what I have learned from going through it. Just to give you a little bit of context, when my PhD project was first handed to me, it was still in a very early stage and there wasn't really any clear indication that it would eventually become a publishable story. So I spent the next 2 years building it up, and by the time I passed my qualifying exam, I finally felt like, okay, we are actually getting somewhere. I wanted to present my work at a conference, but I was rejected. My supervisor's reason was that he didn't want the project to get scooped. But at the same time, I was seeing other PhD students and postdocs going for conferences, doing lab exchanges, and getting opportunities to learn what others were working on, while I was just behind the scenes. And I started to feel like I was getting fewer opportunities because I wasn't being involved in other projects. Then, when my project got stuck for the first time, I was told that someone else might take over the project. And even after I managed to overcome that challenge, another postdoc was brought into my project with the expectation that we share first co-authorship, even though he hadn't generated any data for the project at that point. And all of this really changed the way I view academia as a whole. My parents are sending my relatives to the airport right now, so I'm currently home alone and I'm able to give a quick update on what happened to my one-to-one meeting with my prof 2 days ago. So 2 days ago I met him for our one-to-one meeting, and then my project is currently kind of stuck, and then I was giving some suggestions on what we could do to continue pushing the project forward, but then my prof denied all my suggestions because he doesn't want to spend money on resources. Yet at the same time, he is unable to give me better suggestions. So yep, I don't know what he wants me to do about it. I was very speechless. Yeah, so the current status is that he said he wants to have a discussion with another postdoc who is also involved in my project. From what I heard from the postdoc, he has subtly told him that he thinks I'm not working hard enough, which I also don't know what to say about it, because I think that for now I am doing the best I can, and if he doesn't want to dedicate more resources, or if he doesn't want to accept my hypothesis, then I can't do anything much. And also he has been hinting to the other postdoc that he wants the other postdoc to take credit for my work basically. So that is kind of what is going on now. But the good thing is that postdoc, he's a very nice guy, he's a very morally upright guy. So although my boss has been hinting him to take credit over my work, I think he doesn't want to. He doesn't need to also. He said he doesn't need a first author paper, and he just thinks it's not right to be taking credit over my work because I was the one doing most of the work. I think my boss doesn't really like my working style. He prefers to micromanage people, and he prefers to be able to control you, but he's unable to do so for me. So I think that is why he has issues with me. But the thing about my boss is that even if he has issues with you, he will never tell you directly. He will always complain about you to someone else. You will get the news from someone else. And it's not only the case for me, it is the case for maybe half the people in the lab. I think it's kind of messed up because which boss complains about his employees to another employees? I just think it's kind of messed up, but it is what it is. At least for now, I don't have a surface conflict or argument with my boss. We just know that deep down, we don't really work well with each other. So I know my prof has issues with me, but for now, I don't care about it anymore. I used to be very affected by it, and I tried to do things his way, but I realized that he is just never satisfied with me because my boss is biased, so it's very hard to satisfy someone who is already biased in the first place. So I don't bother with it anymore. I just do whatever he asks me to do, although I might not agree with it. At the same time, I'm just gathering up enough data to be able to submit my thesis next year. All I care now is to graduate on time and leave this lab and find another job or work for another boss who's able to appreciate me. Although my boss is like that, I'm still quite lucky because all my colleagues, they are quite nice. Okay, maybe not all my colleagues. Most of my colleagues are quite nice and they side with me. I guess I will be able to survive for another year. I just want to focus on graduating so I can move on with my life. So that is the brief update on what happened. And for now, we're gonna make lunch, and then at night, I might go for a swim with my parents, or if they're not free, then I might go for a run instead. So yeah, let's go and make some lunch now. I think if you're going through something similar right now, I just want you to know that you're not alone. Sometimes when we are constantly being overlooked or treated differently, it's very easy to start questioning yourself. But I have learned that sometimes it's not you, it's the environment you're in. So for me, I have learned to stop taking everything so personally. I can continue to improve, to do my best, and focus on becoming better at what I do. Because at the end of the day, what other people think of me doesn't determine my worth. So I was cooking halfway just now, and I realized that I don't have light soy sauce anymore in my house. And in the end, I found oyster sauce in my sauce, and I just added oyster sauce in my fried bee hoon. And I added a bit more salt than usual. When I added some sesame oil too. It's a weirdly seasoned bee hoon, but it's okay, I can eat it. I still believe that if I keep improving and keep doing what I love, one day someone will see my worth. A flower doesn't need a flower shop, it's the flower shop that needs flowers. And I think that's something I have slowly come to believe. Remember that your worth isn't defined by whether one person chooses to recognize it.